Welcome to NxBizsuccess. My name is Lynn Hinderacher. I have 3 words for you that define your opportunity as a small business entrepreneur. Ideas are currency. Ideas can be monetized. Ideas can be capitalized. It all begins with the idea. But here's the question I have for you. Can your idea be protected? Is it securable? Somebody else taking your idea? And if so, what do you do about it? That's why I'm excited to introduce you today to John Miles. He's my guest here on NxBizsuccess. He's an attorney in Lincoln, Nebraska at Klein Williams. John, thanks for joining us here at NxBizsuccess.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Hey, there's a lot of confusion about intellectual property and protecting it and what's worth going through the trouble to protect an idea. It's the number one thing that when I sit down with small business guys, they say, hey, I've got a great idea. And the first thing comes to mind is somebody like yourself. You better talk to an attorney. Maybe you could walk through with us today and just explain to us the basic forms of protecting an idea or what you would call intellectual property.
Will do. The first thing you commented on was the idea itself. If you tell me the idea and I don't have an agreement with you to keep it secret, guess what? You just lost your idea.
Yeah.
And somebody else can use it.
And it happens all the time.
Happens all the time. Bad deal. Intellectual property consists of basically trade secrets, patents, or things that are patentable, things that are copyrightable, and then trademarks and service marks. Each of these are different types of intellectual property, and each have their own legal issues, and each have their own abilities to be registered. Okay,
so we've got 4 different categories. Yeah. Why don't you take us through them one by one, just briefly, so we understand the differences.
The idea in your head is a trade secret right now. So the first thing you've got to do is protect that. You've got to protect it by ensuring that other people don't find out about your idea until you've done something with it to register it. That's what a trade secret is. Customer information, ideas about inventions, all those types of things.
Sure.
A patent is something that's issued by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office on an invention. That invention probably started with an idea.
Yeah.
The patent itself gives you a monopoly for 20 years to commercially exploit that idea. Very valuable piece of intellectual property.
Now, you just mentioned a very important phrase, and why don't you repeat it again? It's the Patent and Trade Office. What's it called?
U.S., United States, Patent and Trademark Office.
Okay.
Federal agency in Washington that basically regulates all patent and trademark type issues in the United States.
Okay.
They're the place you go for information. They're the place you go to register a patent or a trademark.
Wow. Incredible. Now, so anybody, it's a federal bureaucracy, obviously, and there are, what, millions of patents filed there? And, you know, all kinds, it's just like a big cache of protected information. Is that right?
That's correct. There probably, I don't know if there's millions, but there's a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Of both patents and trademarks.
Okay, so the search kind of starts there, does it not?
Any idea is only as good as the fact that it's novel. If it's not novel, if somebody else has done it first, it's not really a good idea.
Okay.
So yeah, you start with any kind of invention search, whether you do it on the patent side or trademark side. You got to find out if somebody else has already got it.
All right, good.
If they do, you can't.
So we got trade secrets, we got patents. Continue.
Okay, on the copyright side of things, those are things that people create. Authors write books. Artists create sculptures and paintings. Musicians play music, write music, publish music. All those things are protected by the United States Copyright Act, which protects authors for their original works. Very valuable piece of property. You can register a copyright. You don't have to register a copyright technically, but if you're going to sue somebody for infringement, under our current law, you must register the copyright with the Copyright Office. Now, the Copyright Office is a separate U.S. government agency.
Okay, all right, so it's not part of the Patent and Trade Office. Now, when you see the little C next to different slogans or different titles or something, does that mean copyright then? Is that what that is?
That does, and it doesn't mean that you've necessarily registered the copyright. It means that you're claiming ownership. Under our current Copyright Act, the use of the C inside of a circle is given to the author and can be used anytime you publish something.
Okay.
And should be.
And it stands up in court then?
And stands up in court now.
Okay, so copyright's the third portion, and then what's the fourth one you mentioned?
Well, we've got trade secrets, we've got patents, we've got copyrights, and finally we've got trademarks.
Trademarks.
Trademarks are words, phrases, designs, or a combination of those things that's used in connection with the sale of goods or the delivery of services.
Okay.
A trademark or service mark, a service mark is one used with services, can be used in the common law and not registered at all, or you may register at the state level, or you may register with the federal U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
All right, so let me get this straight. When do you know that you should be looking for a trademark versus a service mark? That's a fundamental question.
If you're selling goods, if you're selling a pencil, then you're selling goods, and that's a trademark.
Okay.
If you're delivering a service, if you're a consultant or in business doing a retail type of business, you've got a service type mark.
All right, so that's the intangible. So we have these 4 different categories. Now, do most people, how do they go about getting them in general? Now, I realize your profession is deeply involved in this, but basically, how do you decide what to get, and how do you move forward in general?
Well, again, I think if you've got an invention, something that you've come up with is going to be useful, a useful product, and you're probably talking about a patent.
Okay.
If you're in the process of selling goods, if you're in a retail business and you've got a new product, then that may be patentable, but more importantly, you're going to sell it under a trademark. So you're probably talking about a trademark. If you're an author, the mere fact that you're creating a book is the fact of authorship that's going to give you the copyright in it. A trade secret is more about doing business and about trying to protect what you have from others' inspection.
Sure, okay. Now, what if a small operation begins and they come up with a name, some family comes up with a name for their business? Do they need to trademark it or do anything else to protect the Joe Blow's grocery store? Or what do we do with that?
First thing they should do is a search. If you do anything, you do a search. Because the search is going to tell you whether or not somebody else has got it already reserved, okay, or has registered it. 2 important things, because if you then adopt it and somebody else has got it, they can stop you at a later date, and you don't want that to happen. So that'd be the very first thing you want to do. The second piece is, do you want to spend the money necessarily to register it and get those additional protections that the law affords you?
Great. Now, you've mentioned money now, and I know a lot of people that are watching this video podcast are wondering, well, it takes a lot to go through this process and spend money and so on. What's the basic lowdown? What kind of advice would you give somebody in 30 seconds on that?
Well, if you're doing a trademark, I would definitely go on the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office website and do a search on their engine. Anybody can do this. I don't regard that as very sophisticated, but you could do it. The cost of that's nothing. If you want to buy a paid service, you can pay anywhere from $150 to $550 for a more complete search that'll give you a much wider database to access.
Okay, all right.
So that's very important on that side. On the filing fees, if you want to register a trademark, you're talking about $275 payable to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. If you want an attorney or somebody to do this, fees can range anywhere total from, say, $1,500 to $2,500.
Okay, all right. So what you've really told me here is that you can get started for free. You can pay $150 and get a fairly comprehensive search. Mm-hmm. And you can pay up to, say, $275 online and actually register
it.
A trademark.
A trademark, right.
Or a service mark.
Or a service mark, exactly, with the
Absolutely.
Patent and Trademark Office, right.
As we wrap this very helpful presentation up here, what happens to people who don't do this? People who should have done it long ago, what are they looking at? Can somebody at any time come in and take your company away or take your product away from you or put you out of business? I mean, does that actually happen?
It does, and what occasionally will happen is somebody will adopt a name, not do the search, use it for a year or two, and suddenly out of the blue they get the demand letter from the person that actually owns the federal rights to it.
Can you imagine what that would be like when that shows up?
It's not pretty. It's not pretty because you've spent all your time and money creating the marketing around your business, all that stuff, up. And now you've got to hire a lawyer to either defend yourself or you've got to change all of what you've done. Wow. Very expensive process. Yeah.
Well, this is a fascinating thing, especially, wouldn't you agree with me? I started out today talking about how ideas really are, in effect, currency. They are the way for today's small business person to really make a mark and make some money in this marketplace.
It's an incredible part of the value of any business.
It really is. Thank you so much for visiting us, John. My name is Lynn Hinderrocker. This is NxBizsuccess. Remember to register your novelty, your idea, your cool new invention that you've come up with. Make sure you don't make that mistake. My name is, again, Lynn Hinderrocker. I've had John Miles from Klein Williams in Lincoln, Nebraska. We'll see you next time on NxBizsuccess.